My name's Greg Knapp. This is the Greg Knapp Experience, your 20-minute thrill ride for your commute or your workout. Well, the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki laughed off coverage of our rising crime problem. New documents show Seattle considered ceding a police station to Black Lives Matter. A new poll shows 70% of Americans are now saying it's time to accept COVID and move on. And Whoopi Goldberg says the Holocaust wasn't about race. Wait, what? Yeah, she's apologized. We'll get you the details. All coming up on the Greg Knapp Experience. Let's go. So we'll start with the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. She was talking on a podcast. It was called Pod Save America. It had a bunch of old Obama administration people in there. And she was discussing what you have at the White House. You have these TVs that have 4 boxes in them, and 24/7 it's displaying news coverage. So they got CNN in one box, MSNBC in another, CNBC in another, Fox News in another, and she couldn't believe what Fox News was showing. Listen to Jen Psaki.
If you look at Fox on a daily basis, I mean, do you remember the 4 boxes that we had on all the TVs, right? Which is on my TV right now. So right now, just to give you a sense, so CNN, Pentagon, as many as 8,500 U.S. troops on heightened alert. Okay, true. Same on MSNBC. CNBC is doing their own thing about the market. And then on Fox is Jeanine Pirro talking about soft on crime consequences. I mean, what does that even mean, right? So there's an alternate universe on some coverage. What's scary about it is a lot of people watch that.
No, what's scary about that, Jen Psaki, is that you actually think it's weird to report the soft on crime problem in America. Like you don't even understand what it is. Are you freaking kidding me? So CNN, Pentagon, as many as, this was on January 25th, by the way, as many as 85,000 U.S. troops on heightened alert. Okay, true. Same on MSNBC. CNBC, they're doing their own thing about the market. Yeah, okay, so number one, you got CNN and MSNBC are in the tank for the Democrats. 2, CNBC is a financial network, so they're talking about the markets. 3, Fox News Channel also covered what was going on in Ukraine, but at the moment she was watching, they were talking about something that's very important to Americans, the crime problem, but not to Jen Psaki. No. Psaki says, then on Fox, it's Jeanine Pirro talking about soft on crime consequences. I mean, what does that even mean, right? You don't know what it means? Are you really that far gone that you don't know what? Well, we live in the nice neighborhoods in the D.C. area. We don't have crime. There's no crime problem. People are just upset that they have people that they don't like living near them, or maybe they noticed a homeless person, or they just are blowing things out of proportion. You don't have a freaking clue. Greg, why are you so upset? Because these are the people that think they're better than you, that think they're better than me, that think that somehow they have the right to run the country, and they don't have a clue. And they can't understand why the average person living in America, seeing the homelessness, seeing the crime, seeing the DAs that have now reduced the penalties for crime, seeing the shoplifting, the rampant shoplifting that's going on across the country, where stores are literally having to shut down because of the amount of shoplifting in San Francisco, in New York, in other big cities. And they're worried it may be coming to theirs because they're seeing similar problems going on, and Jen Psaki laughs it off. I mean, what does that even mean, right? It means when you're soft on crime, you get more crime. That's what soft on crime consequences mean. There's an alternate universe in some coverage. How is that an alternate universe? She is so out of touch. In 2021, 12 major U.S. cities set annual homicide records. Every single city governed by a Democrat mayor, governed by a Democrat city council. Every single one. Guess what? Yes, we're worried about Ukraine, but you know what most Americans are more worried about? They're most concerned with the economy, inflation, crime, COVID, at least the way we're reacting to COVID, how our kids are being educated. Yeah, these things we actually care about, Jen Psaki, probably a little bit more than what's going on in Ukraine right now. Probably. Fox News reporter Peter Doocy back in December asked Jen Psaki about the soft on crime. Do you think it's possible that these cities are dealing with these smash and grab robberies right now, an increase in criminal activity, because some prosecutors are too soft on crime? She wouldn't really answer it. I would say we've seen, I'm not going to attribute the reasoning from here. What I will tell you is we have seen an increase in crime over the course of the pandemic. There are a range of reasons for that. Yeah, you know what one of the big reasons is? Soft on crime. Dominique Luzuriaga had a eulogy for her husband. Oh, yeah, that's another part of the crime. Police officers being killed, ambushed, shot down in the line of duty. She blasted Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's promise to not prosecute certain crimes. Here's a little bit from her eulogy. Quote, her husband was the cop that got killed. You have the whole nation on gridlock. She's talking to her husband because of the big funeral they had in New York City. Although you won't be here anymore, I want you to live through me. The system continues to fail us. We are not safe anymore, not even the members of the service. She's talking about the NYPD. I know you were tired of these laws, especially the ones from the new DA. I hope he is watching you speak through me. Applause interrupted her eulogy at that moment, and one by one, people stood up and gave her a standing ovation. Because people are tired of the soft on crime policies. Jen Psaki, you want to laugh that one off too? Earlier this month, former New York Assistant District Attorney, other prosecutors were talked about for their soft on crime approach. Daniel Bibb, Manhattan Assistant District Attorney, 24 years, on Fox News said this. Imagine you're a clerk in a bodega and you're the victim of a knife point robbery. Not only could the guy not go to jail, he could get charged with a misdemeanor. Quote, that is the definition of insanity, end quote. Laugh it off, Jen. Oh, yeah, Americans don't care about that. No. Just a second, I want to talk a little bit more about some people who were polled on crime and homelessness. They are not laughing. But first, if you enjoy the show, you want to be part of the movement to push back on the left version of America, things like Jen Psaki saying, and the idea that we're just this horrible, awful, evil, racist nation, but that we're actually an exceptional nation. You want to rally around that idea, then please tell 3 friends to tell 3 friends to listen to the program. The Greg Knapp Experience on any place you can listen to podcasts, but also the Greg Knapp Experience Facebook page. Please like me there so I can continue to communicate with you, at least until they kick me off. And then Parler and Gab and YouTube and Rumble and Twitter. So trying to get on all those things. So if they kick me off of one, maybe I can keep talking to you on another. Thank you for telling 3 friends to tell 3 friends. Crime is something to laugh at, says Jen Psaki. Well, let's go to a very liberal, democratically controlled city and see if they're laughing. And it's in Portland. PortlandAlliance.com did a poll with DHM Research, and they found homelessness, crime, and politicians were among the biggest issues for the citizens. Let's see. I wonder why. Let's see. A city where Antifa and BLM had nightly, mostly peaceful protests that often erupted into vandalism, fires, violence, attacks on police, and riots. And I can't figure out why the people living in this city might have a problem with crime. So 88% of the voters said the quality of life is getting worse in Portland, not better. 62% said the Portland region is headed on the wrong track. And voters overwhelmingly supported requiring people currently living outside, homeless, to sleep in shelters or designated camping areas. How about this? 83% strongly or somewhat support funding to hire and train new police officers. That's on the heel of the Summer of Love where they wanted to defund the police. Voter mistrust of local officials, 66% don't trust them. 81% of the polled voters view the city council as ineffective when it comes to providing public services. And remember City Councilwoman Joanne Hardesty there in Portland? She was the loudest proponent of defunding the police. 18% of respondents support her now. Laugh it up, Jen. Just laugh it up, Jen Psaki. We'll see how it goes in the midterm elections. Bradford Betts is reporting that there are new documents out, and actually the Seattle Times broke the story. This is just a story on the story, that they found documents that showed that the director of the Department of Finance and Administration Services in Seattle, Calvin Goings, actually sent 3 memos and a draft resolution to Mayor Jenny Durkin about abandoning a police precinct and ceding it to the local chapter of Black Lives Matter. What? Yeah, they're just going to, hey, listen, we know you guys want to defund the police, and we know you're mad at the police right now, and we know you're kind of taking over this block anyway. How about we just give you the police station and let you guys run that one? In June 2020, the precinct was the site of a standoff between the officers and the far left protesters, and they, of course, wanted to defund the police. So the police did eventually just abandon the precinct. They didn't like hand it over, and say, here, it's yours, but they did abandon it, and that's when we got the CHOP, or the Chaz district, and of course, in there were rapes, and there were a couple murders, and, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And eventually, the police took it back over again. However, the mayor saying, wait a second, the spokesperson, the idea that we requested this, Durkin's spokesperson, Chelsea Kellogg, told the Seattle Times the idea was dropped after the very preliminary work by the FAS and the realities of policing confirmed it was neither feasible nor in the best interest of public safety. Isn't that nice? The Seattle Police Department spokesperson, Sergeant Randy Husrick, said the department was never aware of any city plan to abandon the East Precinct. No. And the Seattle Times reported that Durkin's administration downplayed the idea they were behind the idea of a transfer. However, the FAS spokesperson says the mayor's office directed FAS in its capacity as the city's real estate and facility management agency to outline the process to transfer the East Precinct to BLM Seattle King County. So somebody's lying. Just the idea that they were looking to give the police station to BLM should make everybody who was involved with that resign immediately. You get the government you deserve, though. So what are the people of Seattle going to do about it? Oh, I love this piece by Stephen Moore. One of the things that I care about, and I think you care about, I think Americans care about, is the cost of the gas that you're putting in your car, the cost to heat your home in the middle of winter, the cost is going to be to cool your home in the middle of summer, and all of that has been made worse by President Biden's policies. It's not all Biden's fault. Well, a lot of it sure is. Stephen Moore has this great piece. He said, listen, during a meeting with then presidential candidate Donald Trump, we discussed energy policy. I told Trump that if he went all out to produce America's abundant supply of oil, gas, coal, the United States could be energy independent in 4 years. And Trump looked at me and he shook his head. I don't want America to be energy independent, he said. I want America to be energy dominant. That's why people like him. Now, Trump went full speed on fossil fuel production. Here's what he did. He lifted drilling restrictions, especially in states like Alaska, and on federal lands, which Obama had said no on federal lands. He gave the green light to vitally needed pipelines. He blocked new extreme environmental regulations that were intended to choke off our oil and gas supplies, and he recognized that shale oil and the gas revolution, shale gas, is an unparalleled opportunity to reduce reliance on foreign oil. So what happened? By January 2021, a year ago, and just before Biden took office, for the first time in almost 50 years, we were producing more oil than we were consuming. We imported no net oil from Saudi Arabia and the OPEC cartel nations. We were also producing more oil and gas than the Russians and the Arabs. We were number one, baby. Number one. So then what happened? Well, Biden came into office, and after just 1 year, we've seen a 4% surplus of domestic oil and gas production turn into a 4% oil and gas deficit. Gone from energy independence back to energy dependence, and Biden had to go to OPEC and beg that they would turn on the oil. Biden killed pipelines. He reversed almost all of Trump's pro-drilling policies. And in early January, he stopped drilling on hundreds of thousands of potentially prime oil fields in Alaska. Of course, you know about him shutting down the Keystone Pipeline. Under even the most optimistic assumptions, because Biden's like, we got to go green, we got to go all wind and solar. That sounds nice, but at least for the next 25 to 30 years, there is no possible way that we will not need a majority of our power coming from fossil fuels. The U.S. has much stricter environmental standards than these other oil and gas producing nations that we will now have to import from. And by the way, talk about helping Putin and China's Z, you've got Europe now more dependent on Russia than ever for their natural gas. Great job. Great job. And in China, you got China promising, like, once again to Biden, we will do everything we can for the environment. And they're building a new dirty coal plant every week. Not clean coal, dirty coal. Would you rather have that energy coming from clean, environmentally tough protections America, or would you rather have it go from Russia and China? Just a great plan. And by the way, gasoline prices are up 52% in 1 year under Biden in the gas you're putting in your car every day. I got another poll for you. Monmouth University poll. And this is something I've been saying for a long time. It's not going to be up to the politicians to tell us when the COVID pandemic is over. It's not going to be up to the politicians to tell us when we don't have to wear the mask anymore and we don't have all these mandates. It's going to be up to the people. And the people are speaking, and they're speaking loudly. Monmouth University poll. 70% of Americans agree with the sentiment, quote, "It's time we accept that COVID is here to stay and we just need to get on with our lives. Time to accept COVID and move on," says 70% of America. Now, there is some partisanship in this. 89% of Republicans agree with that, but 71% of independents also agree with that. It's only 47% of the Democrats who don't, and that's because they're tying their tribalism and tying their loyalty to their president, President Biden, who is still all about, oh, we're going to mandate, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. But 70% of Americans now say, hey, look, dude, COVID's here. We got to accept it and move on. We got to do the best that we can. And by the way, the numbers for Biden dealing with COVID are really going down now. Ratings for both the president and the federal health agencies on handling COVID continue to slip. Only 43% now say Biden has done a good job on this. 53% say he's done a bad job. It's the first time his rating has been underwater on that since he took office. And then you got the politicians that, mask for thee, but not for me. And here it goes again. Gavin Newsom in California. You watched the Sunday football game. It was the NFC Championship game in SoFi Arena there in LA. It was the LA Rams versus the San Francisco 49ers. It was a good game. Well, during the game, they were showing shots of the crowd, and they showed Gavin Newsom up in the press box. The governor of California also showed the mayor of LA, the mayor of San Francisco, and Magic Johnson. They're all chumming around. They're taking pictures. It was all nice. None of them had a mask on. Huh. Well, Greg, it was a football game. You don't need a mask on. Well, in SoFi Stadium, there's a mask policy requiring all fans to mask up unless they're eating or drinking. Now, it's a ridiculous policy, and virtually none of the fans were doing this, but this is the governor of the state that's mandating that everybody wear a mask inside in a city that mandates that you wear a mask at the actual arena, and he wasn't wearing it. Well, he said, well, I was wearing it. I just took it off for this picture. And I only took it off when I was drinking water. Well, no, that's not true, because there are pictures of him sitting there watching the game with his mask hanging off of his ear. And he was talking with Magic Johnson for quite a bit with the videos and the pictures that they're showing without him having his picture taken or drinking water. They're just lying. Lying. And by the way, Magic Johnson is immunocompromised with HIV. He needs to be careful. California has that universal indoor mask mandate all the way to February the 15th. Well, Greg, it was a big outside football stadium. He was in the skybox and he was inside. And there's the state rule, and then there's also the city rule, and there's also SoFi Stadium's rule. See, SoFi Stadium's having the Super Bowl, and all fans are going to be given KN95 masks, and will be required to show proof of vaccination or provide a negative test within 48 hours to get into the game. But maybe not Governor Newsom. He's different than you and me. Hey, we got to follow the science of what we're being told, right? Sophie Mann reporting, just the news, that the Japanese trading and pharmaceutical company Kowa has a new study out showing ivermectin shows an antiviral effect against the Omicron variant of COVID-19 and other virus variants. Greg, you can't say that. You'll be deplatformed. Well, shouldn't we be able to say what they're showing? It's joint non-clinical trials that they've been running with Tokyo's Kitsato University. Okay? The drug is not approved, though, for treating the virus in Japan. And in the United States, the Food and Drug Administration has continued to caution against its use, citing a lack of studies determining its efficacy against the virus. Well, they say there's not enough peer-reviewed evidence for this. There are quite a few doctors that say they have evidence of it, and they have anecdotal evidence of it, and they're working on getting more evidence of it. But it's difficult to know who to trust, isn't it? I mean, some studies on ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, they've been done without using those drugs the way that the people who say they work tell you to use it. You got to catch it early and treat early. But some of these studies on it have waited till the people are late in the process of the illness, and they're saying, well, of course that's not going to work. That's when we told you it wasn't going to work. And the CDC uses non-peer-reviewed studies when they want to, when it fits their narrative. It's just very, very interesting. More evidence of following the science. Wall Street Journal, great study on this idea of so-called free pre-kindergarten. Now, it's not free. You and I would pay for it with their taxes, but it's free for the people who use it, so it's free, according to Democrats. Well, they're looking to resurrect parts of their Build Back Better plan that they couldn't get done, remember? And one of the things they're talking about is $200 billion, that's with a big B, for universal pre-K entitlement and free, well, for the people who use it. Well, Tennessee did a long-term study on this. 2,990 low-income children involved in the study. All the children had parents motivated to sign them up for pre-K. Okay? It's a statistically appropriate control group in this thing. It's published in the journal Developmental Psychology, and it found this. Children randomly assigned to attend pre-K had lower state achievement test scores in 3rd through 6th grades than control children, with the strongest negative effects in 6th grade. What do you mean negative effects? It means it was worse for these kids to be in pre-K than if they hadn't gone into pre-K. Uh-oh. Also, quote, a negative effect was also found for disciplinary infractions, attendance, and receipt of special education services with null effects on retention. So a negative effect, so it means more disciplinary problems and more children needed special education who went to the free pre-K than if they didn't. Isn't this the opposite of what you wanted? Yes, that's what a negative effect means. Thank you, Captain Obvious. The Tennessee program started in 2005, nearly 10 years of pilot testing before they did it, and it met 9 of the 10 national quality benchmarks. In other words, it was a good pre-K program. It just had negative effects. It's not the first time we've seen this kind of study. There was a seminal government study on Head Start, which started in 1965. The study showed this program of early education for low-income children produced no discernible advantage in elementary school performance. And it actually showed that their social interactions were worse. $200 billion. They're going to push it through anyway, because after all, it's for the children. Why don't you care about children? Are we following the science? No, we're not going to follow the science. Maybe just maybe, I know it's crazy. Maybe little kids under the age of 5 need to spend more time with their parents. No, the parents are horrible. We got to get them away from them. Yep, spend more time with the parents. Maybe, get some socialization from them, teach them some manners and morals, and no. Libby Evans has a piece on Whoopi Goldberg. I don't watch The View, so I have to read the crazy things they say, and I usually leave it out of the show because, they really bore me and annoy me. But this one was just over the top. The View was talking about the novel Mouse being pulled from the curriculum in a Tennessee school. Now, some of the coverage of this makes it seem like that novel was pulled because it was about the Holocaust and they didn't think 8th graders, 13-year-olds could handle it. But no, what actually happened, the reason given is they pulled the book from the school curriculum because of nudity and profanity. Because that wasn't appropriate for the 13-year-olds. Not because of the Holocaust. And it was nudity of a mouse, by the way. Literally, because it was like an allegory about the Holocaust. But okay, so Whoopi Goldberg and them, they're talking about this, and Whoopi comes out with this great idea that the Holocaust was not about race. Quote, let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race. What? So even some of the liberal co-hosts of The View push back, and Whoopi goes, no, it's not about race. It's not about race. So Joy Behar, who's Jewish, asked, what's it about? It's about man's inhumanity to man, said Goldberg. That's what it's about. Isn't all racism also about man's inhumanity to man? I mean, you think about it. One type of man is saying that you're not a man, and therefore I'm going to treat you differently. You're inferior to me. Isn't that also about? It's about it. Man's inhumanity to man, said Goldberg. That's what it's about. Anna Navarro, though, said, but it's about white supremacy. It's about going after Jews and gypsies. Goldberg. But these are two white groups of people. So they push back again. Well, white supremacist Nazis didn't view Jews as white at all. Goldberg. But you're missing the point. The minute you turn it into race, it goes down this alley. And then she used hand gestures to elucidate her point. What alley? You mean the alley where we realized that racism is not just white people against black people? It can be white people against other white people. It can be black people against white people. It can be black people against other black people like we see in Africa. It can be Hispanics against whites and whites against Hispanics and Asians against different types of Asians or Asians against Hispanics or, I don't know, Chinese against Uyghurs. Or I mean, we can go on and on and on. Racism is not just one type of ethnicity against another. But it seems like many believe that. Well, Whoopi has apologized now. Yes, she came out and apologized. On today's show, I said the Holocaust is not about race, but about man's inhumanity in man. I should have said it was about both. As Jonathan Greenblatt from the ADL shared, the Holocaust was about the Nazis' systematic annihilation of the Jewish people, who they deemed to be an inferior race. I stand corrected. Well, good. I'm glad that she stands corrected. Oh, but I got to finish with just how crazy we get with the whole racism thing, because Alex Parker's pointing out that the University of Nebraska has accused its own mascot of white supremacy and had to change it. What? Yeah, Herbie Husker. I don't know if you have ever seen Herbie Husker. He's been around for a while, since 1974. Everything seemed okay, but see, Herbie Husker had the okay sign on one of his hands. Uh-oh. It seemed like he was just sending the message that, hey, it's okay to be a Nebraska Husker. No. These are sensitive times. Here's what the AP said about it. The University of Nebraska has made a change to its cartoon mascot, Herbie Husker, to eliminate confusion about the meaning of a hand gesture he makes that some people connect with white supremacy. Dun, dun, dun! White supremacy, because he has the okay sign going, or if you play basketball, the 3-point sign, right? In a newer, nicer configuration, Herbie has his finger raised as like the number 1. Well, here's what's so crazy about this. If you're not up to speed on the stupid white supremacist okay sign. Okay. The Independent reports this is what happened. It started in early 2017 as a hoax. Users of 4chan, an anonymous, an unrestricted online message board, began what they called Operation OKKK to see if they could trick the wider world, and especially liberals in the mainstream media, into believing that the innocuous gesture was actually a clandestine symbol of white power. Here's what the people on 4chan said, quote, "We must flood Twitter and other social media websites with spam, claiming that the OK hand signal is a symbol of white supremacy." That's what one of the users posted. And they suggested that everyone involved create fake social media accounts with basic white girl names to propagate the notion as widely as possible. So think about that. We allowed these white racist idiots on 4chan to take away the OK symbol, to make the OK symbol now this horrible symbol of white racist nationalism. It means okay. And people of all colors use it all across America. And I believe all around the world, people have used this as the okay symbol. And it has nothing to do with racism whatsoever. But no, because 4chan got this started and a bunch of liberals jumped on and said, aha. And now anytime they see somebody that they don't like doing the okay symbol, they want to call them a racist. So now anyone who uses the OK symbol is a potential white supremacist, unless the liberals love him. And then he was just saying, okay, kind of like Biden did on TV not too long ago. He did one of these numbers. He looked right through the OK symbol. I don't know if you remember that one. Yeah, Obama, there's plenty of pictures of him doing it. It doesn't matter. As told to the Flatwater Free Press by licensing and branding director of University of Nebraska, the hand gesture could, in some circles, represent something that does not represent what Nebraska athletics is about. We just didn't even want to be associated with portraying anything that somebody might think, means white power. We made that change as quick as we could. Well, thank goodness that Nebraska was on top of the OK symbol. We've gone insane. My name's Greg Knapp. This is the Greg Knapp Experience.